show up.
Then you can show up.
Here she is.
So this gentleman, his name is Bill Walters. He's a fireworks expert. He needs a license to do this show. I talked to Doug. Doug said it's no problem.
Looks like it meets the.
It's non-policy. Can I bring it up?
Is
As
it
a,
common to
No.
do this?
No, they issue permits like this. It's an issue.
it's a.
Yeah, we gotta-
We're going to give him a
we have-
permit.
we have to
The
give-
thing is, it's not on the agenda and it's not policy based. And I thought it'd be okay.
If we don't do it today, he doesn't do it.
There you go. So can I make a motion to approve
Yeah.
this guy's permit?
I can second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Ask me my chair. Copy of that.
Yep. Sure. Mike, can you please pass this down?
Thanks.
And then for the second thing, I'll make a motion to adopt this resolution regarding the Reese, sewer situation.
So on the ash tree, I know you're working on that.
No, no,
Wait,
no.
wait, wait,
Oh.
we've got this resolution.
Oh, we need a resolution first. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I just made a motion to adopt that resolution.
So this is
Second.
this is which resolution? I'm sorry. This
This is
is
the
For
one
the-
for the
John
sewer
Lenny.
collapse that was,
the one we did earlier.
right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Got it. I'll all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry about that.
Okay. Good.
Ash trees. So I know you've done some work on this, Ray. So I got a letter from Diane. She's asking that we put money in the budget to create a plan to address the problem. Am I missing anything?
No.
It's a huge problem
What,
too.
yeah, what we have to understand is that you have to get your head out of the sand on this.
Right.
Because up to this point at least, any untreated ash tree will die. Now, there's a possibility that all changes, but we need to plan for it because it started in the Midwest and it's moved this way and they didn't plan for it in the Midwest. And they're talking about dead ash trees on town right-of-ways that are our responsibility. And when those trees are dead and they need to be taken down, or they fall and they need to be taken care of, we need to pay for that. So we need to consider
Mhm.
what that might cost us and plan for that in our budget and not just go, oh, well, we gotta take that one down, and then we gotta take that one down, and all of a sudden $20,000, $60,000 later, we got an expense that we didn't plan on.
Yep.
Now, if we plan on it and we don't have to spend it, it can just, I don't know, Pam will tell you, maybe it's not, you can't do it because it's in the general fund or something like that, but I mean, it's money we didn't spend. So it would just go to fund balance. And we would just kind of carry it along. So, but the point is, we don't know, we don't have an idea yet of what the impact is. We're in the middle of an inventory of town-owned land, right-of-ways essentially, that have ash trees on them, and identifying the ones that are not on town-owned land that could impact the right-of-way. For instance, if it's 2 feet on your property from the right-of-way and it falls this way, guess what? That's our problem. We have to cut it back to the right-of-way, and then, you know, that little stump and the stump that's in the ground, that's your problem. But the part that fell towards the road and is on a town road, on a town sidewalk,
Is that how it works? Yeah.
that's ours.
Yeah.
Yep,
Is that
That's
the
ours.
neighbor's tree fell in your yard? They still own it, right?
different.
Yeah.
That's
Is it-
private. This is private, public. Anything in the public right-of-way
So what about
is
stuff
gonna be our
that?
problem to take care of.
What about do we have any idea what the utility companies are doing? They have to have a plan, right?
I reached out to the county and they don't have a plan, and if they do, they're trying to figure out what it is. So they're supposed to give us a report back for county-owned roads. Ray and I went to a meeting, and I asked the state official and the county official, because they were pretty much saying the town's gotta address this. So I asked the county and the state folks. They didn't have a plan.
Like, what if half these
So-
things fall on power lines? You know what I mean? Like,
Well-
they have to have some.
I think they go, my guess is National Grid's gotta be looking at this going, this could impact.
They
Our
removed
electric
trees.
service.
National Grid removed trees on my land
They did.
2 weeks ago.
They've been doing it right along.
Okay.
So that's a possibility.
All right.
But we aren't there yet because we don't have the inventory done,
Okay.
so we don't really know how many ash trees there are out there. We don't know if it's 200 or 2,000. We're in the process of working on that. We think we can have that done by this year.
So next, sorry, go ahead.
That could be spread out too, though,
Oh,
because
yeah.
those trees take probably 5 years before you're gonna see them falling over. The one, there's
Or
certain
longer.
trees
Well,
that
it
are
depends.
dying right now, but
Yeah.
There's others though that have already gone through it. and I'm
You'll
ready
see
to
what,
follow
like out
on.
here at the town common, take a look at those trees, they're really bad. You're talking about another year,
Yeah, they're
maybe,
gone.
maybe two.
I got
and
one in
there's
my
nothing on
backyard I
them.
gotta take out next week.
I got 14 of them on my
I
property.
got about 20.
Some
Okay,
money.
he's got 20 of them, so you have to, and some of them look fine, and some of them don't, but the point is, even the ones that look fine, at this particular point, with all the knowledge they have, they will become infested and they will die unless you treat them.
And it's so expensive to treat.
And we've gone through that
That's not
already.
an option.
Well, it is, it is, when you talk about a big tree, and it's one that's important in your property, and it's gonna cost you $1,000 to take it down, and it's gonna cost you $150 to inoculate it every 2 years.
And it's a
You know?
huge tree, shame,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Maybe I'll spend the money to,
As a private
Inject it.
person, but as a town, the
Oh, as
number
a
of
town-
trees
well,
is
yeah.
out of the question.
Chickawaga just cut everything down
Yeah.
in their parks.
but
They
it,
cut every
it,
tree down and replanted.
but in the opposite spectrum to that, Amherst has been and is continuing to treat their trees. Of course, they have a forestry department and everything else, you know, and they have
Lots of
more money and the whole business. We have identified no trees on town property that are so beneficial that we need to save them.
Okay.
There has been conversation with the task force and then also to the actual Conservation Advisory Board about, shouldn't be waiting to replant. And they're talking about a demonstration project out here right now, and get rid of some of those trees and replant right now. Don't wait until they're dead, and then cut them down, and then replant. And of course, you don't replant with ash.
Wonder if there's any,
Wait, is the, I just thought I saw something a month ago about funding coming down the pike for the ash problem, no?
Not really. There's funding for a tree inventory, and there's funding to create a management plan. We're already in the process of doing the management plan, it's just legwork, you know, it's going out there figuring out what you need to do, what you need to say. The tree inventory, one was done in the town of Tonawanda by Buffalo State interns. They hired them for the summer, they went out with tablets, and they put them in, they put in the kind of tree, the location, the kind of tree, the size of the tree, how important the tree was, you know, that's subjective, but you know what, this is something that we need here. And they went through the whole town for a complete tree inventory, not just an ash tree inventory. So we're looking for that, and there is grant money for that. And that can't happen until next year, because as you get to the fall, the leaves go away, and it's really kind of tough to tell the impact.
Right.
You know, you can tell right now, if you look at the canopy of certain ash trees, and it's really thin up there, where they have sprouts coming
Right
out,
at the top.
that's bad news.
Got it.
But once the leaves go away, you can't tell that. So we wouldn't get that inventory now, and we have to apply for the grant. Diane is really on top of this. There's a task force, I think you guys know about it. You've got the, you know, Dick Crawford, myself, Steve Burtz, I think Paul Lechner, Diane Evans. There might be somebody I'm forgetting, and I'm embarrassed to say I'm forgetting somebody, but the task force is really looking at this stuff, and really talking to Patrick Marin, who's from the county, and this gentleman, forget his name. Anyway, he's from the state, they're gonna come in, they're talking about maybe putting a program on October 4th, they hope to be October 4th. They're gonna do a demonstration project over here and then go upstairs and try to inform the public again about this problem, because the people, the private people need to know this. You need to know that if you've got 14 trees on your property, you might have a problem in the very near future, even if you have 2.
most of them know already, you know.
I think there's a lot of people that don't know.
And
We need to
we
get
are,
that out
you know,
there,
we're
we need to
ju-
get that out there, we're talking about creating some kind of a brochure to get out to people, because we've been sending things out in the, water bill, you know, so that's a way to do it.
Because a lot of people would treat it, we're treating our trees, because we do have big, beautiful ones.
Right.
And
So-
it's not cheap,
No.
but we would like to hang on to those trees.
Yeah.
So we're willing to put the money into it, and I think a lot of people would be
I
if
think
they
so.
knew what the treatment was, what to get, what really worked.
Right.
And it seems to
Yeah.
be working, or,
It is working,
Is it?
yeah, it's working.
So-
But
so-
you have to do it every year until,
Every 2, they
Yeah.
say.
So Ray, the plan is, you're gonna make a plan, your
The-
team,
the
your
task
task
force,
force.
yeah.
The task force is gonna make a recommendation.
Right. Right.
We're gonna consider what it will cost to implement their recommendations, and then we'll go from there.
Right, but just a heads up that, we've gotta think about putting money in the budget.
Understood. Understood. There's people coming in talking to me about this, making appointments to see me. A lot of people are concerned about it, so I think it's a worthy cause. Okay, I wanna give you guys an update on Dunlop, just to tell you where we are in that. Whatever you wanna call it, I call it Dunlop. Whatever generation you're from, what name you have for it.
Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn, that's great.
It's the-
You know what, that's a good point. From now on, we're gonna start calling it the Holiday
Let's just call
Inn.
it the Holiday Inn,
The future Holiday Inn.
because then we know what we're talking about.
So, yeah, right, good point. So I
I
met,
think he's talking about the Radisson.
Yeah, right?
Uh-oh.
I met with,
That's what
I met
call
with
it.
you,
It's
Ray.
Holiday Inn.
So you and I talked about it, and then I took that back to Doug.
I met with them too.
Yes, thank you
because
for
we
that.
talked about
That was
doing
that was
Go-
very helpful.
Go ahead.
So Doug is working diligently to figure out ways to make this happen. They need a building permit. They're not going to get a building permit until the plans are completely reviewed. He's working diligently on that, thank goodness. And he's also coming up with some creative options. He is going to give them the permission to do the exterior work, which is the windows,
And the roof.
which is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Which means that they can get the inside done next year.
Mhm.
So they're going to start working on that imminently. So thank you to Doug, thank you to Ray, and thank you to their team over there that's working hard on this.
The other thing is, just to give you an idea, what happened is, they changed architects. So, because the one architect really wasn't doing what they needed to be done. So there's another architectural firm that I'm not able to say because it's not a done deal, is probably gonna take over the project, and they will be drawing up the drawings that are necessary for the code enforcement office to do the plan review on it. And then once they do the plan review, that passes, all right, you got your handicap, those are the right kind of walls, because they've gotta be fire rated walls, blah, 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 and then boom, go.
So yeah, I spoke to them as well. I basically said, look, you can have all the big ideas in the world, but we have to have something that people can review and move quickly on.
Yeah.
And I think they get it. Our team gets it. Our team understands this is a priority more than ever. So I'm excited that it's moving forward. So
One other thing that, we had a short conversation on Nate and I went to tell Doug about it, and at this point, he said, no, it's not necessary. We talked about, and I think we talked about it at the town board level, when we talked about bringing this up as a priority issue, to allow them to work overtime, just like the water department works overtime to fix a water break, or the highway department works overtime to put up a stop sign that's fallen down, whatever the case may be. I talked to him about that. I also talked to him about the possibility of hiring a professional. Let's say, for instance, there's a town of Tonawanda retired code enforcement officer that has all the licenses and has all the knowledge, and he can come in and he can review plans at the same time. So if there's a staff like this, we can get through it. Doug said we don't have a stack right now. We've got all caught up. Things are a little bit slow. We're in good shape, but he thought that was a viable option.
well, time kills all deals. So if it's necessary, I'll work with you on it. We'll get it done. We'll work with him too. So things are moving forward. I just want to give you an update. And thank you again, Ray. Vacation homes.
Ag
districts.
Oh, ag districts. Oops.
Yeah.
I always do that. Ag districts. I want to give you an update on that as well. I met with the special districts like I told you I would do. Special districts advised me that they would. This is how it works. They want an engineer to look at each one of these properties and say, hey, they need an RPZ. They need to have some type of protective device. The problem is,
To make the determination whether they really need it, is that what you're saying?
yes, but I think even for some of these cases that are such small operations, it's really just a garden hose. Some of these people. I mean, we're not talking about massive operations. So I talked to Whitney. He says, look, if that's the case, they should come and make a case to him. If it's a bigger operation, he's going to require them. So it's a case-by-case basis. I think that's reasonable.
Well, that's differentiable too, because if it's garden hose, it'll be a 1-inch pipe, it won't
Right.
be a 2-inch.
Right.
If they have a 2-inch, I think that's a pretty,
Yes.
Right.
No. And I will
So that
say,
could-
and I explained at the meeting. I said, look, if someone has a giant basin that they're filling and could be filled with fertilizer and then sink back into the system, we want to stop that. I mean, I don't care if it's an ag district or whatever. We need to protect the town. But If it's not the case, if it's just a little bit of sprinkling of watering, then they shouldn't be held to these higher standards either. So they're gonna look at this as a case-by-case basis. I don't have any problem with that. If you guys have problems with that, let me know. I think we're good with that.
I like that.
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that even a homeowner is required to have a vacuum breaker
break.
installed
Yes.
on your outside
Oh, I see.
spigots. So that's kind of the same thing, so if we're only talking about a little, because if I leave my hose laying down in a puddle of dirty water and there's a water break, it sucks it back up, that's what that's for. The big operations, like you talked about, Mike, and we have them in our town, all our town facilities, is an RPC,
Right.
yeah, so they.
I don't think any of these are really that big,
It depends,
but we'll find out.
yeah.
And if they're big,
Sure,
John will say, look
Well,
at
there's
this.
only 7 houses to be,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
7 locations, and only a couple of those, I think 3 or maybe 4, that are even using any atypical amounts of water,
So
so.
they can come in and ask, right?
Right.
While
It's not
we're
a
on
big
that, are we done with the
task.
water part of that?
Go ahead next to the,
The
go
other
ahead.
part of that is, in my conversation with Doug about all this kind of stuff, he said, you know, I've asked to meet with the town board regarding this ag district stuff, and we haven't met. And he started to get into some specific things that I don't think we've heard yet.
Such as,
Well, he's talking about people wanting to slaughter animals
Mm.
on their properties.
Mhm.
Just because they're in the ag district, no rules apply to them and they can just do it.
And,
And I don't believe that's the way these ag district rules work.
no, in fact, I
And-
did discuss that with Dan one day, Spitzer, because that's one of his specialties. And he was supposed to get back to us with what, the regulations would be for that would be, I think the determination that it's a business, they're not growing it. So,
No, this is somebody who's,
well, they're growing it and then
I'm
slaughtering
I'm
it.
raising the cattle
Yeah,
and I
but
wanna
if they
slaughter it.
if they
Or
slaughter,
I'm raising
yeah.
poultry and I wanna slaughter
He's
it.
supposed to get back to us
if it's,
with
if it's,
what-
if it's an unreasonable nuisance or a public health risk, we can regulate it.
Right, well,
So I don't know what this case is, but if they're slaughtering animals, it sounds like a health risk.
they're
Blood.
not
Oh,
doing it.
oh, okay.
They asked about it.
Yeah,
He also said, and let me preface this with exactly what he said. I am not interested in shutting down the farm,
operation.
Industry.
Farmer's market.
thank you,
Farmer's market, okay.
thanks very much, the farmer's market on Long Road. But there are some issues there. He said, and one of the issues that has been brought to my attention is there's nowhere to park. So people are parking on the road on both sides of the street, and that's causing a problem. He said, I don't wanna shut anything down. I think it's
No, no.
important. We just need to be able to take a look at it and maybe, and he's in an M1, so it's probably the right area to be doing it. He's prefacing it all with this, but he says, but I think we need a site plan. We need something.
Just so you know, I'm already on top of it. I talked to them.
Okay.
I said, look, you guys need a site plan.
Oh.
You have to have people park people properly, you need to do this properly. And they seem to understand that. I said, you can't just, we'll do this willy-nilly. If something goes wrong and we don't have the appropriate plan in place, it's a problem.
It's
So,
a pretty quiet street, and I think that was an atypical situation. I mean, it was the grand opening, and there was a lot of, because I was there last night, and there was more than enough parking on the rest of the property. There was no one parking on the road,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of spots left.
Okay.
a site,
you know what,
site plan is a very
Yeah,
low threshold.
as long as it's.
It will
not-
help us understand where people should be. I think it's reasonable. They seem to think it's reasonable.
Okay.
So,
The ag district.
yes, yes. I mean, having a site plan for, they plan to grow. So if they're gonna plan to grow, we should understand what that requires and how the land should be, that's what I think. So I will work with Doug and I'll try to work with them on that as much as possible to get something done. And, yes.
Okay, great.
Okay,
The only thing I'm not sure of is, what is the actual requirements ag district wise? I mean, if it rates as like a vegetable stand, I don't know how much control we really do have there. Do you
See,
understand that?
One of the things that Doug says, and he said, I don't have a problem with this, I just need guidance, that's all. One of the things that's in our town code is, you can sell things that you grow, produce, whatever, on your property.
Yeah.
But this is having people come in,
From other properties.
and I personally don't see anything wrong with that. But that's not what our code says.
it might,
And probably agricultural district, property-wise, that's probably too restrictive of a code for ag district property. in which case, we could probably say, you know what, we don't wanna enforce that one. But when you have other
The
situations.
issue here is,
Go ahead.
you have multiple products from multiple vendors being sold in that location, as opposed to a guy selling vegetables he grows in his backyard.
Right.
So therefore, it's reasonable for us to say, look, you're trying to draw from a larger group, you're trying to have a permanent presence here, you're serving products from all different sources. It is reasonable in these circumstances to have a site plan so we can control traffic flow, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it's a case-by-case determination, and it really comes down to reasonableness under the circumstances. I think that's a hard, a guy like Doug, he wants to have clear black and white
Yeah,
guidelines.
He's
But
having a hard time with it.
It's
So Phil.
difficult. It's difficult. But also, we're applying for this grant. It's $25,000. They're going to help us understand how to do this better. They're going to help us understand how we're going to change our code to make it more reasonable for these guys. It's a change, I understand, but you know he has to be patient too, Doug, and the code enforcement.
Right, but he's worried about some specific situations that are coming up that people have asked him about, that he has an opinion on, about like saying, you know what, I don't think slaughtering in a residential area is the right thing to be doing. I think this, if you're an M1 or something like that, that'd be fine, but I don't think slaughtering in a residential area is that great of an idea. You know, he's kind of being funny like that, and I think I'm agreeing with him,
Yeah.
because I'm not sure I want slaughtering next to me,
Yeah.
and it's probably something that needs to be enforced.
Well, if that,
But
if,
then he's saying,
go ahead.
well,
Go ahead,
what
Mike.
do I do? What do I enforce with these ag district practices?
Yeah,
What do I don't enforce?
I'll get back with Dan and ask him, I meant to ask him when he was here today, because Ag was on there,
The only
about
thing-
that, you know, he had a legal.
Doug's gonna have to get used to calling to ag and markets too and saying, hey, what do you guys think? What's your advice?
And that's what,
You know,
that's what
that's-
Dan was gonna do,
That's what he
actually.
needs to do.
That's what he needs to
Yes.
do. You know, Nate McMurray is not the expert on ag and markets. He should call the experts and say, listen, this is what we heard. What is your advice on this situation? And then he can come to us and we can go to our lawyers if necessary if it's a really extreme situation. Sorry, go ahead.
Because I was pretty much, I mean, I thought I educated myself pretty good on this, when
Mhm.
we were going round and round and round with it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there's two things. One, there's already current existing town laws.
Yeah.
Those town laws, if the ag district property owner believes that that town law is too restrictive, they have the ability, on a form,
Mhm.
to fill it out and send it into ag markets, and the commissioner or the board or whatever comes back with the answer of, yes, town of Grand Island, this is too restrictive.
Right,
This farmer ought to be allowed to do that, done.
right.
Also, if we want to ask the ag markets, we also can fill out a form because we're considering adopting a law that does this. Will that adversely affect ag market property? We can ask that question before we adopt the law. Those are the two ways to figure out whether or not a law is detrimental or restrictive to an ag property owner. So I'm thinking, within reason, I mean, if a guy wants to build a shed, and it's down by the water, because that's the closest water supply, and it's 4 feet from the property line instead of 5 feet from the property line, Doug looks at that and goes, you know what, go ahead,
That's
build a
right.
shed.
That's right.
I'm not gonna have you write a letter to ag market, because they're gonna tell you, okay. But in another situation, he might say, you know what, I don't think that's detrimental to your farm operation to comply by our code. The person who's running the operation has the ability to say, you know what, I don't think you're right. Fill out the form, send it into ag markets, get the answer.
That's right. That's right.
Then why don't we have our code enforcement office do that?
To just fill it in and ask questions?
No, that they look at the situation, and if they think that there is something, not a notice of violation, order to remedy, and all that other kind
Yeah.
of stuff, a notice to the person saying, I think what you're doing is a violation of the code. I suggest to you,
Uh-huh.
you write to ag markets, fill out the form, and we get an answer on this.
You can do that, but it also can just do, I mean, I'm talking, look at, back in January, we were talking about this stuff. I called them every day to get myself education on this stuff and to understand. He can make phone calls. I mean, he's got to understand that it's really not as complicated as we're making it out to be.
Okay.
It just means this. If the activity is reasonable for that type of property under the circumstances and not causing a harm to the public health, it's probably okay no matter what our code says.
Right.
So And if our code is unreasonably restrictive, then we may be required to change it. That's why we're applying for the money to update our code to make sure it's in compliance with ag and markets. So he has to be patient until we do that, which is going to take time. And the other thing he has to do is, there's not a clamoring to clamp down on people. If someone's coming to ask for slaughtering, then we can take care of that one issue. But I don't hear any noise at all. I mean, there's no one talking about this except for the code enforcement group.
You know, just on the slaughtering thing, I think it sounds like a terrible thing.
Yeah.
We're talking, it's such a small, I don't know of any farm that reaches a threshold where it would be really a concern.
Yeah,
And my basis for that is there's probably 100 different houses where they do multiple deer every single year.
It's a good point.
And I've been at places on the island, I won't name the names,
Good idea.
where there's 10 to 15 deer being processed in one night.
Wow.
And I'll tell you right now, that operation's a lot bigger.
I
than
know where it
any
is.
ones
It's
we're
Ben
dealing
Keeney's
with.
house. We all know it.
I live in a townhouse and they would really be opposed to that. But Dan Spitzer, when we had that conversation about it, there is a big difference between someone that is opening a slaughterhouse and slaughtering as a business.
Right, slaughterhouses.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
not what we're
and
talking
someone
about.
who's slaughtering what they're growing or
Sporadically,
raising.
one here,
So
one there.
I'll catch up with him again and have him
Yeah,
send
let's
that
get,
wording
let's,
to
let's,
us.
let's get that and maybe that's a situation where, I'll go talk to Doug and tell him.
Because there was
Doug, look
somebody
at on
in
these-
here that
on these-
day.
Give a call to Ag and Markets, see what their comment is.
Mhm.
We're all growing on this together,
Yeah.
so we'll get there.
Okay.
Vacation homes. So let me set up the issue. So there's a new draft law. I looked at the law. I have a couple of questions and concerns with the law. Deb, you want to add anything about this before we go into it?
No.
Okay. So the new law modifies the existing law to essentially grandfather in, and say if you guys disagree with my interpretation, let me know. It grandfathers in properties that existed before that are subject to this sunset provision under the current law, and it creates a set of requirements that they must follow, and it also creates a board now made up of members of the community and of the owners of these homes, right? The owners of these homes, I think.
That's one
It's-
person on the board.
Yeah, one person on the board that will moderate the permitting process and to provide advice about who should be permitted and who should not be permitted. Is that correct?
Well, and I guess also, review permit application, correct? Provide recommendations to the town board on performance standards criteria for permit applications. Make recommendations to the board for action. One of the things that you actually wanted to add was including removal of license, right? Is that correct? So that was one of the things that Nathan that he got back and said he wanted to put on. And, monthly meetings to address individual permit applications or renewals, yada, yada, yada.
So I'll tee it up and you guys can make your comments. So the question number one is, why do this? Why bother? Because A, if it's good, why shouldn't it be good for all of Grand Island? Why would it be only limited to these homes? And B, we already have a law that took care of the existing homes, and they're going to receive a settlement. It's another way to say it for any loss they have once the sunset comes in, and they have 3 more years to make money on it anyway. So why bother? I would argue that we should bother because I think that we could use this law as a way to test whether we can control this and whether we can figure out if it works or if this current version of the law works. It could be a test basis. And B, I'm not sure if the old law really makes these people whole, and I'm afraid of additional legal action. So those are my thoughts. I'd be happy to hear from the people here gathered about what thoughts they have.
So I think we have some more work to do, and I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to touch base with you, Bob, on that. But the title right now says, to continue, which means the grandfather, but it's like a lot of people. The text is what matters, it's not the title. The title frequently is a spin. We need to put text in there to make it clearer what to continue means. so I think we need to reword
I
that,
think
And
that's
did-
fair.
Yeah, and I did talk to Peter about that.
yeah.
I did make a phone call.
So you're
to
not
him.
making a new law that allows for all the,
Too, with criteria,
That's not,
And-
that's a question.
and how do you prove who was doing it?
Well, when I asked Pete that question, and he can go into that more if you want to email him, he said that they have to prove that they've been operating, and usually they
What's the
use their income
criteria, though?
tax statements.
Does he have criteria for
Yeah.
So that, I think that criteria needs to be here.
Mhm. That- yeah, we put that in.
Something else that kind of bothers me a little bit, it says allows them to continue. So that's the idea behind it. So we always talk about legal, non-conforming uses, right?
sir.
So these places have never been legal and currently aren't legal.
Well, that's an opinion,
Well, is it?
It's a lot.
it's an opinion.
Which ones came in for a license?
Well, that's,
It's not
No, just
required.
just asking a question.
no, that's
Just asking a question.
no, I'm trying to answer.
How many came in for a license?
Was not required.
Okay,
You're supposed to talk.
okay, sir, please do not, we have to have the communication here, this is a workshop, we have to communicate amongst ourselves, I'm sorry about that. So, you're right, but that's the basis of that previous legal case. And that was the arguments that were made on both sides, one saying, listen, you're not, that's an essentially legal question that I can't answer, whether they were legal non-conforming or not. I think there's arguments on both sides, and we have to go to court to figure it out.
It went to court,
Please,
it was
please.
figured out.
Yes, there was already a
I'm
case,
sorry.
there's already a case, you're right.
I apologize.
Yeah, if you interrupt again, I'm gonna have to leave, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think that is a valid point, though. It did go to court, the town did lose in that discussion, that's what led to the creation of this law. I know that
Did
we
they
were
lose,
thinking about-
did they lose? I'm asking the question, I'm not making a statement, I'm asking the question. Did the town lose the point that they needed to come in for a license? Or did they lose that they could operate? It's okay for them to operate, it's legal for them to operate, all they need to do is get a license. But they didn't, I'm asking the question, I'm not making a statement. Okay? Number two is, like the chicken law, there are a bunch of things in here that have no standards, then I don't know how they're enforceable. Let me get to the one that really, because, as we all know, some of us go to these homes when we stay at other places. Each guest shall be provided with soap, clean individual bath towels, bath cloths and towels, and clean linen, and good repair linens, and bath cloths and towels shall be changed between guests. Who's checking that? The property shall be cleaned and sanitized between guests, and all food, beverages, and alcohol shall be thrown out. All dishes, utensils, pots, pans, and other cooking utensils shall be cleaned and sanitized between guests.
You could have
Doing that.
code enforcement check it,
We could.
and that's part of the fee is, whatever the fee amount is for payment or for compensation
And-
for enforcement.
What I'm getting at, Mike, is, don't have those in there. How am I gonna tell whether something's clean and
I
sanitized?
think that you have a point.
You know what? If they give you a dirty house,
Don't go back.
they're not going, people
Yeah,
aren't
the
coming
market,
back.
the market will judge
The
them.
market will judge it and say,
Yeah.
you know what, don't go back there.
That
The
being-
dishes were clean, the linens were dirty, it
What
smelled.
it does do though,
Whatever.
is it provides a bunch of criteria that this panel can use as means of removing licenses. Because they can say, look, and based on our judgment, you didn't have clean linen, you didn't have soap, you didn't have all these things. You know what I mean? It's giving them a list of things that they can point to say, you know, you're supposed to be doing this, and in our opinion, you did not do it. It was not clean.
And you know what's gonna happen with
What's
that?
that? Go ahead.
And I'm a tourist owner. Well, you know what? My opinion is. So, you're wrong.
It'd be tough.
My opinion, the place is clean and fine. I changed the linens, I sanitized everything, I cleaned everything.
You're right.
You're wrong.
So how would
So
we?
what are we gonna, how are we gonna do this? Gonna take me to court? Go ahead, take me to court. I'm gonna
You're
keep
right.
on operating.
You're right. That's a good
So
point.
just don't have it in there.
And I think you're right, and I think you had a really good point there, Carl, because when I went through this again today, when I was looking at it, those were two particular things are things that I believe the tourist home owner would request.
Yeah.
Of when they check out, to go there and check to make sure that those are the things they would do. You know, it may not be something we should put in the law.
I'll tell you what, but you're right. If someone has dirty linen, I ain't going back there. And I'm gonna put it up on,
That would-
I'm gonna put it up on the internet and say, do not go to this place, it's disgusting.
Exactly.
Number 16, it talks about the licensee, rental agent, or manager shall maintain up-to-date 24-hour contact. The person so identified shall be responsible to promptly address compliance issues. What's promptly? Now, promptly is a subjective word. That needs to be a actual number of days,
So within.
hours, whatever you want. And what I'm saying is, I mean, I just went through this, I just started, and it was,
Take out the subjectivity.
I don't, first of all, you know where I stand on this, but I might lose. So if I lose, I want the law to be what it needs to be, and it's not, to me, it's not close. We need to be sitting down and going through this thing, one workshop for this, item by item by item by item.
I'll set a workshop up for next Tuesday to do
I
this.
think it's a good idea.
How about that?
Next Tuesday, we have a town board meeting next Tuesday.
Oh, it's the day off, right?
Well, we could dedicate the workshop.
I will
to this.
dedicate the
I don't
workshop
know.
to this item on Tuesday. I will leave, if you guys agree to keep everything else off of it, we'll dedicate it to this item. I know it'll be a pain,
Unless-
because everyone's
unless
brother.
something comes up,
Okay,
right?
yeah? Well, unless it's an
Lots
urgent
of things.
matter,
Right.
unless it's an urgent matter, I will
This would,
leave
this
it
would be the main topic.
1 hour.
1
I
hour.
think you need more than an hour though,
I don't know.
Come with your comments prepared, and we'll come to talk and give your
because
suggestions.
there's still.
I'll put it up on the TV and we'll talk
And
about it.
I'm-
Yep,
and-
There's already a couple of things on the agenda for next
we
week.
can clear it out, we got a week, we got time.
If they're short little things, don't, you know,
What's on the,
doesn't
no,
matter.
don't worry
You
about
know, we'll just look at it during the week.
Okay, listen, I
Well, maybe
really,
we can come in, if we have other things on the agenda, maybe we can come in an hour early,
Fine.
clean the agenda off for
I
a
cannot
half
be
hour.
here anymore. I started soccer practice. I don't get out of soccer practice till 5:30.
it's all right,
So unless you want me coming in my,
no,
no, I didn't think so.
No.
I need to change into appropriate attire, so I can't be here until 6. At the very earliest.
we'll do it at 6:30.
More likely, I'm gonna end up being here 6:15.
We'll do it at 6:30, that's important to what you're doing, I think it's valid, so, let me say this.
And let's be
So,
prepared.
I wanna go back to this, I think, more broadly speaking, before we move off this topic for tonight, because it's so contentious, if I had a magic wand, I'd make it go away. But you know what's gonna happen? It's gonna go underground. These people want this. People are gonna start renting things, rooms out in their bedroom, and every single city that's tried to stop this has come up with the same conclusion. We can't stop it. There's too much of a public demand for it. You can't. If there's a market demand for something, whether it's frankly illicit drugs or whatever else, it'll create a market, whether the legal system wants to recognize it or not. I think it's our opportunity to try to figure out a way to control this and try to figure out a way to benefit from it if possible. Now, I don't have all the knowledge in the world to do that. That's why I hope on next Tuesday or when we meet, we'll come with some really good ideas to improve this law. Sorry, does anyone else want to make any comments?
How can we find out the answer to my question before?
Which question?
Are they legal non-conforming uses?
Honestly, according to the courts, we have our answer. They said, look, based on the claim we made
I'll
before.
reread that decision, but I don't think there was anything in that decision that talked about the fact that what the town was asking was to shut them down because they were illegal
Now-
operations.
It's been a while since I read it, but what the town was saying was, under the town code, we believe they are illegal.
Yes, correct.
And what the court said is, no, a plain reading of the town code says nothing about this subject, so they're not illegal. In other words, that's the
But-
conclusion of the syllogism.
They would have needed to get a license.
But we never put it, I don't think they ever put it in the law.
Read our old code.
Okay, let's look at it.
If you read the law, it
No,
says.
Oh,
no,
please,
no.
please, thank you.
Real anybody
Sorry.
else?
Thank you. What's that? Yeah, exactly. Was there a license to get? I mean, sorry, he added something. I don't know the answer to that. I think there's two sides to it, as I
Let's
said
find it out.
before.
Well, I mean, if you look at a bed and breakfast, they
There was.
require a license and they require
So
a
you-
public hearing. So, and it's owner occupied, so why would it be any less?
Because it was a type of business that wasn't thought of when that law was drafted. Okay,
Let's get a roll.
let's
on
talk
to
Tuesday.
Peter.
Question? Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
talk Tuesday. Okay. Solar law, go ahead.
Okay, I put the solar law on everybody's things, has anybody had a chance to look it over? I made
And
some.
we're the first one to say I have not had an opportunity to look at it.
Okay,
but I
do you
didn't
need more
understand it.
copies? 'Cause I have
No, I
one.
don't need any more copies, I have
Do
the
you
copy.
still
I
have
just-
your copies?
Did you sent it through email though, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I also put copies in all your boxes,
I did see that.
yes, so if you need another one, I have more.
Just haven't done it.
Okay, well, let's,
It's on me.
yeah, we've had a lot on our plate. Would you please look it over? I got some feedback from Doug, I gave some feedback myself to, Dan Spitzer is the one that's, got the specialty in this particular law. He made some good changes, I sent some over, he said that they were good changes, he's gonna update that, so I'll send you the update.
Yeah, right, that,
Okay.
that would be good.
I'll send you the update.
Anything that Doug said and anything that you,
Yeah.
a new draft.
Yeah, and Doug
Okay.
has already put in quite a bit of
Mhm.
input, and that has already been, put in there. I also sent you guys like 3-4 drafts of other laws. Some were really restrictive, some were less restrictive, if you wanna encourage, there was different levels, so that you could look over and see what other towns have done.
Yeah.
I also put I think I put the state one in too, that was one of their samples for,
Okay.
solar laws, cause a lot of towns don't have any solar laws at all at this point. So
And
if you
there is a
could,
company that's looking at Adele somewhere, though,
yes,
and
Absolutely.
they actually expressed an interest to have a discussion, so I don't know if we would wanna invite them here, to discuss the law, maybe learn what they think. Is that something we'd wanna do?
Yeah, why, so
Is it,
would this law affect them from doing that?
well, whatever,
I think we
the law
want-
is gonna have an impact, it depends how we write it. I mean, some
I
are more
don't think we
restrictive,
should
some are less.
restrict a business from
Here
doing
do
that.
I.
I think
No.
I'm looking for
Mm-mm.
residential type.
Yeah,
my
and you know, at
understanding is
this
they
point,
actually,
that particular company has chosen a piece of property that is zoned for it. But, and they're willing to do whatever we
What's,
really
what's
want
the
them to do.
purpose of this law? I mean, that's what I wanna get at.
Residential.
Residential.
It's residential impact, right? We're
So
not
if I
talking
put
about-
if I put a ground array in the back of my
Yeah.
house, and it reflects off of that guy's bedroom window
Right.
every single day at a certain hour of the day, that's not
Yeah.
really good.
Okay, so we're
And that
drafting a
was-
residential
and
solar
there's
law.
some safety issues, there's
There's
a
some
number of things,
safety
there's
issues.
disposable, I mean, we're talking, they are toxic.
Yeah.
And if someone goes bankrupt and just abandons the property, then someone's gotta dispose of this
There's-
array.
But that,
Well,
that,
they're
that,
they're
if we're-
responsible
let me-
to do that,
let me-
and the thing is if we're gonna regulate that, we gotta look at a lot of businesses that have stuff that they need to dispose of.
we wanna
And
create
are we
every
going
single
to-
business to create an
Such
escrow
as like
account.
Well,
technologies,
this is
they
a little
have-
bit unique, I mean, we're talking about a
I don't
field,
think it is
10
unique.
acres
I don't think
of,
so.
10
No.
Every
acres of-
single, if we create an escrow account for every single company that may have environmental impact when they close, there will be
everybody
never,
had one.
not one company open on Grand Island.
Mm-mm.
That you have to
You have
clean
to
up
look
the
at
gas
that.
station, or a, whatever, even,
Yeah.
the
they
Burger
do
King,
something for gas stations.
or,
Well, there
or,
are state laws
Yeah,
and
they-
federal laws, and
They
there are
do-
state
they
and
do
federal
do
laws for
things
this as well.
For gas stations.
my point is, if we have a
So
law,
I would use that as probably an example.
a comprehensive law to say that this relatively low impact industry, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, compared to industrial work or whatever else, has to create a fund or a mechanism
10 acres is a big area.
whereby they have to clean up and make sure that that's going to be part of their coverage. That doesn't make sense to me. If we require other companies to do that, they're-
I'm
Go ahead.
wondering, is that covered under state law maybe?
Probably.
It's-
There are
because
state
you know
and
what?
federal
I
laws.
can't be a chemical company
Mhm.
and just do whatever I want and say, oh, by the way, I'm leaving now.
Well,
I mean, the state
they
allows
did
that
it in
to happen, right?
California, that's
Well,
what's
these-
led
Well, I'm
to
talking
these
to New
solar
York right
laws.
Yeah,
now, so, you know, all this,
Utility
brownfields and
laws,
everything else,
federal
so-
utility laws have lots of regulations
Yeah.
and laws.
So you have a
cover it. We
fledgling-
should pull some of that
you have a
out.
fledgling industry that, if you look at what happened even 5 years ago and today, is completely different. It's completely different. Every day, this technology gets better. So I mean, things that happened 10 years ago in California, I don't know if they're even applicable anymore. Just like if you were to apply this modern standards to the early oil
You don't
industry.
think, yeah.
Yeah, no, I am positive that things changed at such a degree in that industry where some of your concerns are just not valid anymore.
Well, I think the cleanup situation is something we need to talk about.
We can talk about it.
And we need to find out if there's some regulations that are already there that,
I'll check
Town
that out,
doesn't need
because I
to-
do have a lot of stuff from the federal.
where these other
state
places, they're
government.
putting them in all over the place.
Mhm.
It seems like if there was a problem, if they shut them down and walk away and there's this toxic field of solar arrays, the state maybe wouldn't allow that to happen.
Right.
And they wouldn't put that on the backs of the local communities.
Well, we see another thing is we see the requirements coming out of Albany regarding our renewable energy, what we need to do as a community. And we need to figure out ways to meet those standards,
Right.
whether we like it or not. That's the law. We believe in the law. So, I mean, I don't wanna figure out ways to hurt or undercut a new industry or undercut the free market, frankly, from trying to grow and prosper in Grand Island.
But I will do some checking on that and send it to you guys. The other thing I just wanna mention as far as, looking at this, I have been doing some research, as far as setting up training seminars, sessions, whatnot, for towns, fire departments, and how to deal with, there's a fire inspector, he's in Colony, New York, I did some research on him. Joe Pisceg, I can't even say his last name, but he's he's a fireman. He's a fire inspector, and he's well versed in writing code for solar and, solar farms and that sort of stuff, and how to deal with, the fire codes and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's something that I'll get some more information, so I'll email that to you guys
Great.
as well. And I'll check the federal laws, pull up when I can for you guys, cause I have quite a bit of it already, and
And
that might
talk to the
address,
fire company, oh, maybe they already have some stuff.
yeah, I will, I
I
was
think
gonna
it's a
call,
weakness, so,
I was gonna call Greg, I guess is it Greg Butcher that?
yeah, you'd probably be a good.
Yeah, I will give Greg Butcher a call too, and see if he has the expertise, or somebody has the expertise that would probably, that could come in when we discuss this, and maybe or send us information so that we can read up on it. So that we can be prepared to, do this. Get it up there, and certainly don't wanna slow down, a project that is zoned properly, and I think a good project for Grand Island, keep it from going forward, we don't wanna do that.
And just as a point, this company, I was told, actually wants the law in place before they install. So they're
Well,
not,
I at
they're
least
not,
wanna know what,
they're not too worried about it, as
No.
long as it's following the standards that have been followed in other
Yeah.
communities.
exactly, and they're willing to sit
So-
down and talk.
I haven't heard that from them. I mean, I had a brief discussion with the guy once. He said he was just he was trying to figure out when he came in the one day. He didn't say anything to me about, I want a law in place before I do my investment.
Well, the real estate person contacted me,
And said they want a law in
Well,
place?
yes. That they would prefer the law to be in place before they install, and it was,
Did you
Sherry
say, I wanna
McDonald.
put a law in place?
Sharon McDonald's is the real estate broker that sold the land, and she's been dealing directly with this company, and they actually wanna meet and discuss.
Did you tell them that you wanna
et
put a
cetera.
law in place?
Oh, they know
If Sharon McDonald knows who you
They know
are-
we're working with
And
her.
why have they contacted you?
Sherry knows me, she contacted me.
But why didn't this guy contact you? Because he didn't tell me anything about wanting to put a law in place or anything like that.
I guess you didn't have the conversation then.
I'll follow up with him. I'll send an email tomorrow and say, do you want to put a law in place before you
I
do
don't
your...
get your point, what's your point there?
I don't want to slow down an investment with our...
I don't think it's slowing it down.
How long
I
do you
haven't
think-
heard
how
of
long
any
do you think we can
concern
have this
expressed
done?
then.
How long do you think we
express
can have this code? We haven't even read it yet. He already has his plans in.
Okay, we'll just put blinders on, Wild Wild West.
No,
Is that your suggestion? I'm not really following your
my suggestion is,
logic.
this is a residential solar law. This is a
No,
commercial,
this is
No, it's
commercial.
commercial
It's
too.
commercial.
it's commercial?
It's commercial
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
and it has certain,
You should read the law.
I
Take a
didn't know-
look,
I didn't
take
read
a couple
it.
minutes, take a couple minutes, read the law, and then if you wanna critique it, then feel free. But I'm sorry,
Are you being rude?
yes, you are.
Are you being rude? I ask you a question.
I am responding to your behavior.
No, you're not. I'm asking you, I talked to this gentleman, he said no word to me whatsoever about the requirement to have a law before he does his investment.
He didn't say a requirement.
That doesn't make sense to me, Mike. Be reasonable about it. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
He didn't say anything about a requirement. I don't know anything about.
Do you, can I ask you questions as we're having the conversation? What do you think of solar power?
I'm for it, as long as it's reasonable, as long as it's done safely and what have you. Why?
You don't, well, good, okay, you're for solar power.
I'm for any renewable, as long as it's done smartly, safely, and properly, and especially in terms of our town, that our interests are protected.
Okay, I'll keep you to that.
And I've been working with Bev very constructively on this, although she's done 90% of the work. I have provided her input. And do you get the feel that I'm resisting or creating any hurdles to prevent the
I'm happy to
installation?
hear that, and I think that we should just move forward in a positive way. I
Right.
think we can
I
do
mean,
that.
have you heard of any hurdle that I've put out there to try and stop?
What if
law
this
from
gentleman
going
says to me
through?
tomorrow, I want to
Or-
invest tomorrow, I don't want to have a law in place, would you be supportive of that?
Pardon me?
If I call this gentleman tomorrow and say, you want to have this investment done, and you don't, is my understanding you want a law in place before you do your investment? Would you be for that?
Go for it.
Okay, good to know, I'll just call him tomorrow. All right, any other questions before we adjourn?
Number 8.
Odd behavior.
That's a subjective comment.
Undertaking for
We
the,
have to do number 8.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, that's the undertaking the DOT
Yes,
from John Whitney. He sent us an email today that,
The
Mhm.
easements.
for the easements.
yes,
We gotta
oh yeah, that's right.
do that, we gotta vote for that, for them to allow them to do that.
So, did he,
Did he give you a copy of the resolution?
They, they need approval from the town to work on the easements. On, not
Yeah.
on Grand Island easement. They need to work on the
Deed.
property.
Right, DOT's
So let
gonna
me
work
just
on
read-
town Grand Island land.
that's right.
So,
So let me say, we hereby request authorization to allow the town supervisor to sign the attached undertaking to the New York State DOT. This is a requirement of the New York State Department of Transportation to allow our year 4 to 5 construction activities along Grand Island Boulevard.
right,
Second,
yes.
Ray is second,
so moved, second.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Before we adjourn.
Yep.
On number 2, we were talking about that, and we went on to the next thing. I thought I could get something in there. I wanna ask a question. I'm not saying yes, I'm going to do this, I'm asking the question. I would like to revive the chicken law. I am unhappy about having to wait a long time, I think, to get all that agricultural animal stuff done. I have people who have come to me again to say, why isn't this done?
Chicken owners probably, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
chicken owners. And Doug, in his conversation with me, said, you know that there's a bunch of people out there, and I'm just not going after them. I said, I get it, Doug, I thought this was gonna be done. Would people be willing to, with Keith Trippy's comments and changing that, if I rewrote that law, would people be willing to look at it?
I'm always willing to look at anything.
Okay, all right, and I'm gonna do that, and I'll circulate that, and hopefully we can get that done within a month or something like
Would
that.
they be called chicken or fowl?
I don't know what it's called. I
Whatever.
keep on calling it the
Whatever
chicken
they-
law,
Same,
only
whatever the
because it's
title is,
easy to
yeah.
call it.
So I think it's fowl.
Yeah,
Is
keep
that
on
what
fowl.
include dogs?
Keeping fowl on
Okay.
residential personal property.
Okay,
So
that was-
Ray,
That
All right,
stays
thanks,
there.
thanks.
just
Yeah.
title that
we
we
cut
on
to.
the agenda.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, I gotta send a draft law out to everybody to look at, so really it won't go on the agenda probably at least till
Following Monday.
6.
No, you're meeting that
19th or
Monday, no, you're
19th.
meeting the 19th,
The
the
19th.
Monday after, the night of the planning board meeting, you're meeting at 5:30.
Oh, okay, it might be under that one, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, that's all, thank you very much.
I need to remember that day, but that's still on, right? That's not posted.
Can I ask for an agenda item just to be put on for a future, just an update on
12th.
the computer stuff?
Computer stuff?
Yeah, the.
Oh, the website?
Oh, website,
stuff like
sure.
that. Maybe have them come in. It doesn't have to be the next one, cause we got an agenda,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
one after that.
Okay.
The 12th, you have a meeting at 5:30, that's your off week,
Whatever
Okay.
one we're not doing the vacation one, cause we're dedicating that time for that.
that's Tuesday.
So after that.
Can we change the workshops on the off meeting through the months of September and October to 6 o'clock?
Yes,
Because then I can be here, and I will come in my soccer attire, but it's only a workshop, it's not an official one upstairs, so.
So that would be,
If
The
you don't
12th, but it's a planning board meeting night.
If
so
people
set
don't
it
like it, they don't have
to
to
an
come.
hour.
so
That'll give you
we
an
have
hour.
to stick to an hour the planning board meeting.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And
So
you know what?
6 o'clock
If
on
you
the
need to
12th.
start at 5:30,
5 weeks.
start at 5:30 and then I'll just come in.
We need to make a decision because it's
Whatever,
not posted.
whatever. Just let me know.
Either keep it at 5:30 and I post it for 5:30 or you move it to 6.
So that meeting. can be
Yeah,
an
Okay,
no.
we'll
hour.
just make sure that we don't make it a long agenda.
And the 19th
And then
is your
anything else we
regular
put
one.
on one of the other
Oh,
agendas.
The 19th will be your regular one.
Or if we get something urgent, we gotta just schedule an additional meeting.
So before we dismiss and leave, back to solar for a second. I hope we do not create a law that creates unreasonable impediments that do not exist for other industries. Especially since this is an industry that I hope we can encourage to be on Grand Island. And further, I think we should be willing to understand that earlier on we proposed a moratorium. Some people discussed a moratorium. That's exactly the opposite direction from where we should be going. It should not be towards a moratorium, it should be towards the encouragement of renewable energy on the island, including solar energy. And it is not a massive environmental threat, it will be a benefit to the island, so we should look at it that way.
I think you're aware too
Okay.
that Bev is the one driving this. She's been in the driver's seat.
Did you
So I
not
don't
want a
know if you're
moratorium at one
concerned.
point?
I think we all talked about it.
I did not want a moratorium. Did you not want a moratorium at one
I
point?
think we all talked about it.
I think I said at the time, I'm
We
totally
didn't do
against a
it, right?
moratorium.
Did we do it?
Thank God. Thank God.
Well, we couldn't do it because it's illegal
And your point
to
is,
do it.
Well, my point is, I think my reason for concern is valid. Dismissed.
Hey,
before you-
Motion to adjourn.
Are we
You're the
adjourned?
Second.
No, second.
Oh, Bev, sorry.
It's okay. We're done. Want me to copy this? Good.